Good afternoon, everyone. It's 1:30, so we are about to start our session 2 on Mobilize Your City projects, how to develop meaningful, sustainable urban mobility plans. So if you have any colleagues, so if we're gonna play the game, the boat is sinking, it's going to sink towards this side. There's a lot of people on this side, and the people here have somehow disappeared into thin air, but that's fine. Okay. They actually say that the hardest session is the one, it's a cliche. The hardest session is the one after lunch. I don't know if it's scientifically proven to be true, but they say that your brains are busy digesting your food, which is why you can't think too much. So, but anyway, in order to start ourselves and to get ourselves to get to know each other, I'd like to know who here are from Manila, live and work in Manila. Can I see a raise of hands? Yes, yes, 3. Okay. Okay, then for the people who had to fly here, can I ask you to stand? Okay. And just so we have some movement going here, can I ask you, since there's just a few of us left now, can I ask you to line up here according to the number of hours that you flew? Okay, so you have to talk to each other. So 1, 2, 3, go. Come on, come up front. Everyone who flew. Okay, so the ones from Davao, you flew what? 2 hours. Okay, so for the 2 hours, you stay here. ask each other how many hours they flew, and then the longest, if you flew 20 hours, you would be over there. Yes, include. There's a good question because this is a mobility workshop. Please include transit time. Okay, and since most of them are facing this way, please face the non-existent audience, but yeah. Okay, where is Davao? Okay, so this is 2 hours. And then how many hours did you fly? Half an hour. You should be before them. Huh? 2.5. Where did you fly from? Ho Chi Minh. Okay. That's 4. Okay, 2.5, 4, and then here. So we have from Ho Chi Minh, Bangkok, and then here. Okay, can you just, from the Ho Chi Minh, can you just shout how many hours you flew? Okay, 8 hours from Mongolia. Okay, then 12 hours from Tajikistan. 14 hours. Okay, I'll just ask you to pass the mic.
Okay, 16 hours from Paris.
Yes, 16 hours from Berlin.
16 hours from Paris.
16 hours from Paris.
12 hours from India, Nagpur. 12 hours.
12 hours. Okay.
18 hours from Dhaka.
Okay.
About 20 hours from Brussels.
About 25 hours from Ottawa.
That was 26 hours. If we count a layover as well, do we? Yeah. Then 26. Yeah, sure.
26 hours from Pakistan.
5 hours from Cambodia. 5 hours from Cambodia.
Good. Yes.
Oh, good.
Can everyone give a hand to those who flew 25 hours to be here? Okay, and I think this will make Sasank's job, or is it Juliana's job, easier, because right now we realize that we actually don't know our colleagues, but can we include the ones who live and work in the Philippines to go to the 0 part of the line over there? They flew 0 hours. Okay. And Juliana is going to ask you, since count the number of people here, please just say your name, the country you're from, and your position. And if it takes 1 minute per person, you already know how long it's going to take. So please try to keep your self-introduction short. Your name, where you're from, or the organization you represent.
My name is Deviana. I'm from the Jakarta's Regional Planning and Development Agency. And then, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's it. Name and the organization you represent.
Okay, okay. Oh, yeah, okay. I think that's enough.
Hello, I'm Gina Herrera from the French Development Agency Manila office. Based in Manila, I took the MRT for 1 hour from Quezon City.
Oh, that's like a flight.
I'm Neil Sunier from GIZ Philippines. It took me 25 minutes by bicycle to go here.
Wow.
Golda Hilaria from Institute for Climate and Sustainable Cities, so 1 hour 45
Via
EDSA.
private car, Grab. Okay.
Hi again, everyone. 20-minute walk and 10-minute MRT. to come here.
Wow.
Hi, I'm Hussein Haider, ADB transport team. Maybe 35 minutes drive and 5 minutes walk from my office.
Okay.
Hi, everybody. Franz Dacumas from Urbanac, Philippines, GIZ. 2 hours, Quezon City to Pasig by Grab.
That's also another flight.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name Kim Tri. I'm from Department of Public Works and Transport, Phnom Penh, Capital City. I took 5 hours by the plane from Cambodia.
Good afternoon. My name is Long Zakom. I'm from Cambodia. I'm the Deputy Director of Municipality of Phnom Penh. I travel from 5 hours to here. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, Malayaw. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Ivan Cortez, the city planner of Davao City. I took a 2-hour flight from Davao to Manila.
Oh, like Quezon City to Ortigas.
Right. Hello again, everyone. Francis Layog from Davao City with Sir Ivan, 2 hours from Davao City to here.
Yeah, hello everyone. Clément Musil, Program Manager for Mobilize Your City Asia from Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam, 2 hours and a half.
Hello, everybody. My name is Nalong Sai from Laos. I work for Department of Housing and Urban Planning. And it takes 1 hour from Vientiane to Bangkok and 3 hours Bangkok to here. Thank you.
Yeah, 3 hours. Okay. Okay. But you didn't have the Vientiane to Bangkok.
Anne-Laure Hillman, based in Bangkok at the regional office of AFD MTTL for transport and mobility, and 3 hours from Bangkok with Philippine Airlines. Looks like 2 hours because it was so comfortable.
Uh-huh. Oh, that's nice for Philippine Airlines. Thank you. We shall inform them.
Hello, I'm from Mongolia, from the municipality of Ulaanbaatar. So I flew 4 hours to Incheon and then another 4 hours to Manila. 8 in total.
Hi, my name is Pulot. I'm from Tajikistan. I'm working at the municipality of Dushanbe city. Exactly, we don't have the direct fly. We just transfer to Dubai around 4 hours. Then from the Dubai to Manila around 9 hours.
13.
Thank you.
Hello, I am Mahesh Morone. I am working as Senior Deputy General Manager for Maharashtra Metro Rail Corporation Limited, Nagpur. Nagpur is the heart of India. So from Nagpur to Delhi, 2 hours journey. Then there was a layover of 8 hours. Then I had to fly from Delhi to Hong Kong, which is 5 hours journey. And then again there was 2 hours layover. And from Hong Kong to Manila, 2.5 hours.
Okay, I lost count. But I can relate with that 2 hours going from the heart.
Yeah. To capital.
Okay.
India's capital.
All right.
Yeah. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Nader. I represent the Ministry of Transport of the Republic of Uzbekistan. I traveled overall 14 hours from Tashkent. Thank you.
Good afternoon. So I'm Reda Swerji, Head of Transport and Digital in AFD. And I had 4 Korean meals in my 2 flights through Bangkok, which were actually
yummy?
nice. Yeah, it was kind of good.
The 4 Korean meals with kimchi.
Me neither, but it was okay.
Hi, I'm Matthias working for GIZ in Germany. So my flight here was causing more than 3 tons of CO2 emissions, which are hopefully well invested.
Oh, this was what I was supposed to ask you all. How many tons of CO2? And no, I'm just joking.
Do the counting, and you have to recompensate for that in terms of impact that you will take from this event. And yeah, I'm trying to compensate that also by walking here to the office 10 minutes.
I know, right?
Hello, I'm Harold, urban mobility consultant. It took me 16 clear hours to come from Paris with a layover in Guangzhou and then straight to Manila.
Hello, Pablo Salazar Ferro. I came from Paris. Took me about a bit more than 16 hours with a layover in Taipei, and I work for Transitech, a consulting engineer company.
Good afternoon. I am A.S. Emiliatsa. I work for Roads and House Department, Bangladesh, and now working as a project director in one of the BRT projects. This is the first BRT project in Bangladesh. So it took me around 18 hours from Dhaka to Manila. Thank you.
So Sank is.
Wow, I live
not
much further
believing
away,
it.
but it took me also about 18 hours. So as everybody has heard, my name is Zank Demiri. I head the Mobilizer City Secretariat in Brussels, also 18 hours.
And we come to the champions,
The polluters
the
over here.
25-hour people.
My name is Liz Drake. I work for CPCS, a transport consulting company based in Ottawa, like I mentioned, and it took me about 25 hours through Vancouver.
It's Omar Khan, working in the Transport Department, Pakistan. It took me nearly 26 hours. We went to the Qatar and from Qatar over here, including the layover, exactly.
Hi, everybody. My name is Imran, and I am GM Operations and Market Development in Trans-Peshawar. Trans-Peshawar is an organization responsible for operation and maintenance of BRT system in Peshawar. So it took me, like we both were in the same flight, it took more than 26 hours. And actually the layover time, the transit time was 8 hours at Qatar airport. So that's why it took longer.
Okay, it's still part of travel.
I'm the last one. Hello, everyone. My name is Agustinus Panjaitan. I come from Medan. I'm working at Transportation Agency of North Sumatra Province, Indonesia. I took 1 hour to Kuala Lumpur from Medan, then another 3 hours from Kuala Lumpur to here to Manila. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So you should be somewhere here. But anyway, please give yourselves all a hand for coming here today, and you may return to your seats. And I hope the bicycle lane driving people can talk to the 25-hour participants that we have and comfort them a little. I'm sure you're having a bit of jet lag as well. Some of you may be having your jet lag. So I haven't introduced myself. I am Melissa Cruz. I am the portfolio manager at GIZ Office Manila for the Philippines and Pacific Island countries. But what is my involvement with Mobilize Your City? In my former project, which was Transfer, we were largely responsible for having the Philippines as partner country in 2017. So this was under your predecessor, Sasank. So this was under Marcus Delfs. And we brought people from the Department of Transportation to Berlin to receive their certificate. And as Nicole Kranz said earlier, we are the first partner country from that received GIZ assistance to have a NUMP. That NEDA, by the way, our National Economic Development Authority, for those of you who are not in the Filipino or in the Philippines. So NEDA said that they don't want it NUMP, but they want it PUMP, which is the Philippine Urban Mobility Program. And as already mentioned by Nicole, it's working pretty well in the Philippines, and we're hoping to expand that more. And so we'd also like to thank our session organizers right now, which is basically ADB, care of Bertrand, and Mobilize Your City Asia, care of Clement Musil. And you may ask, what is this session for? This session is dedicated to the Mobilize Your City community of practice in Asia. And it aims at presenting a lot of the achievements of the partnership in this region and showcase a lot of our SUMPs. And we will be hearing two case studies. First will be the case of the SUMP in the Medan metropolitan area in Indonesia. And the second will be the SUMP of 3 cities in Pakistan, particularly already shown this morning, Peshawar, Mingora, and Abbottabad. And after we hear these cases, we're going to have a panel discussion. And you may please ask your questions to our panelists. Feel free to ask them any questions that you may have. We also have questions prepared for them. So without much ado, I'd like to call Agustinus Panjaitan, the head of Transport Agency of North Sumatra Province, to come up front. However, before he does, he asked us to show this video of what they have achieved in maybe Dangro in Indonesia.
Dari rumah naik angkot dulu ke halte, terus setelah itu naik bus ke sekolah gitu. Sama juga kalau pulang naik bus terus ke rumah lagi, nanti naik angkot. Kadang mau jadi lama gitu, setengah jam.
In Indonesian cities in general, and in the case of Medan in particular, road traffic's increase resulted in rising congestion levels, impacting people's commuting time and increasing environmental and social externalities, such as injuries, casualties, and air pollution. Indonesia has committed to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 29% by 2030, which requires, among other things, to improve the sustainability of our mobility at the national and local levels. That's why the government of the North Sumatra province, in coordination with the cities of Medan and Binjai, as well as the regencies of Deli Serdang and Karo, launched a SUMP, which is a Sustainable Urban Mobility Plan. This SUMP was developed with the financial and technical support from the French Development Agency and the innovative methodology from the Mobilize Your City partnership.
A Sustainable Urban Mobility Plan, or SUMP, is more than a simple transport plan. It is a process where local stakeholders define common objectives to develop more sustainable mobility on the scale of a large urban area. SUMP defines the scope of the financing and implementation arrangements, as well as the monitoring tools for mobility-related measures and projects to improve both mobility governance and develop public transport infrastructure. The SUMP process supported the North Sumatra province and Medan city to find fundings to develop mobility projects contributing to reduce greenhouse gas emission and decarbonize urban transport system.
We conducted a diagnosis of urban mobility and carried out stakeholders' engagement considering social, technical, economic, and environmental opportunities and challenges of urban mobility in Medan. For this, it was important to have a participatory approach, conducting surveys with Medan inhabitants as well as interviews, workshops, focus group discussions with all mobility stakeholders. Following the diagnosis, Aegis helped co-produce a vision and targeted scenarios to define the urban mobility wanted for Medan and the main steps to be taken to get there. The process resulted in an action plan by collaboratively prioritizing and assigning the list of measures to local agencies responsible for implementation. This includes, for example, developing the first BRT line, the upgrade of the urban rail network. To track the implementation of those actions, we also developed an observatory on urban mobility following the Mobilize Your City guidelines by training a SUMP monitoring team at local agencies,
The Sustainable Urban Mobility Plan elaboration process facilitated key discussions among mobility stakeholders in Medibangro towards the design of a common goal and vision. This process was successfully led by the North Sumatra province and included national authorities such as Bappenas. The SUMP process put Medibangro's inhabitants at the heart of the discussions to improve their quality of life by offering them accessible, efficient, and safe public transport services. AFD is continuing its support to the government of Indonesia and North Sumatra province by financing the first BRT system for Medan, a project that was identified as a priority in the SUMP action plan.
Good afternoon, everyone. I think actually I don't need to explain again because all the material my presentation material already in video, but I still have time, around 90 minutes. I will try to share with you how we prepare the SUMP. First, I would like to give thanks to MYC to allow us to share with in this event, and then ADB and also AFD who support this SUMP document. This is the process of the SUMP. We start from November 2020 and then until December 2021. Also, we got struggle also when we start, because when we start this project, COVID is coming. So we also use PINI method to how to get the data, especially for this SUMP. We start from component 1 for the inception, and then component 2, component 3, and component 4. And then on December 2021, we finalized the document. I would like also to show you how the condition of our public transport. We can see that private vehicle still dominate our public transport. The private vehicle 72%, and then public transport only 6%. This is our struggle in our city Medan especially, and non-motorized only 15%, and private hire 7%. And you can see also the motorcycle 77% and car 23%. We can see also how private vehicle ownership dominance more than 90% in Medan City, in Karo Regency, Deli Serdang Regency, and Binjai City. So Mobidang Road consists of Medan City, Karo Regency, and Deli Serdang Regency, and Binjai City. This is the main trip and the characteristic of the travel for, we can see in the right side above, for the trip, origin destination trip for cars, and then for motorcycle, and then for all modes. We can see the concentration of the movement is in the central city of Medan. And this is the mobility rate in the Mobidang Road area. We can see the trip per day, 4.8 million trip per day, compared with Jakarta, around 20 million trips per day. And then the average person spend for transport around 12,000 Indonesian rupiah. And then also 2.5 trips per day per person in our Mobidang Road area. And we can see the people travel more for work, education, and then shopping. And this is the action plan for smart mobility in Mobidang Road area. We have some issue. The first is public transport, how to improve and to develop new system for the transport. We have 9 action, and the one is BRT lines. And then the second, for urban planning and non-motorized transport, we have 7 actions. For route network, for private vehicle, we have 9 actions, and for digitalization also 4 actions. And then for governance, 5 action, and then for the environment, 7 action. For the public transport, as we know, now our government, province include the city and regency in Mobidang area also preparing for the BRT lines. Now we are also finalize our detailed engineering design for this BRT line. And then I I will explain about a little bit detail about the BRT lines in the last presentation. Next. This is also for the route for the Mebidang BRT. We can see the black color is the gray color is the BRT line, dedicated line, 17 kilometers. And now we are in progress to develop, and then we will prepare for the procurement for the construction the end of this year, 2023. And this is the route for the public transit that we propose also in our part of our action plan in 2023, 2028, consists of BRT, and then some of corridor also with tramway. And the next to 2035, we also have some corridor, like we see corridor B for the LRT, corridor G for the tramway, and corridor T for the BRT. We can see the route in our Mebidang Road area. And then this is the package of priority mass transit line, corridor H for 2028 and 2035. We have a corridor H, corridor U, and then corridor B for the 2035, corridor G for the tramway, and corridor T. And estimation for the project also showing in the slide. And this is for 2040. We have some corridor also, corridor N for the BRT, and then corridor A2, W, and corridor G. This is the end of the horizon time for our SOMP until 2040. And the next for the public transport evolution, we can see in 2020, we still only 10% for public transport share in 2020 versus 90% for private vehicle share. And then with 172 kilometer route for the mass transit, we will have 23% in the end of the target of the SOMP, 23% for public transport share, and then the rest 77% for private vehicle share. This is our target. If we can develop the 172 kilometers for all the route, we will get 23% for the public transport share in our public transport. This is some key figure for the action plan for Mebidang Road area. As I mentioned before, there are 41 actions with 6 issues. And then we also will improve by 2035 with 15% inhabitant will live within 750 meters of formal transit stops, compared with the baseline only 3.8% in 2022. In 2020. And also minus 20% from greenhouse gases, active kilometers for the integrated mass transit in 2035, and minus 23 congestion on the route, and the total for the all 172 kilometers, and all the action plan will be 24 trillion. This is very big invitation. This is some documentation from our activity when we prepare the SOMP. We have two teams, technical committee and steering committee. Technical committee actually consists of some of institutions under the province government and city and regency government. And then the steering committee consists of our governor, our major city of Medan, Deli Serdang and Karo Regency, and also some institution in central government. This is our activity when we prepare from the beginning in 2020 until 2021. Yeah, that's all for my presentation. I will continue for our ongoing project for the short implementation of this SOMP in 2024. We will have the main route for the BRT. That's our target. It will be operate at the end of 2024 next year. The CapEx will be covered by loan, and then for the operating maintenance, we cover by our local budget, Medan City and province government. You can see it start from Terminal Amplas and then until Terminal Pinang Baris, all the dedicated route in Medan area city. This is the other road. We call it like feeder route. We have totally 17 route. 14 routes will operate by Medan city government, and 2 routes will operate by government of North Sumatra province. This is the timeline of the project. We start from 2022 for the loan agreement, and then continue for the AD, detail engineering design and project management consultant. They are already working for us until the end of this year. And then until we can see 2024, we will start for the BRT construction. And then we'll operate, our target will operate the main route, the 17-kilometer dedicated route in 2024. And then it will be improved until 2027 for all route, for the 17 route for the BRT operation 100%. Yeah, thank you. That's all for our presentation.
Thank you so much, Mr. Agustinus Panjaitan. If you will agree with me, I thought that that was a very inspirational presentation. And this morning it was mentioned that SUMPs are quote unquote just a plan. However, we also know that if we fail to plan, we plan to fail, right? So, but what I saw in your presentation was that it took a lot of effort into the SUMPs. I don't even want to know what went into all of that, those processes, or maybe a lot of people here want to know. And it took a lot of analysis, and also this planning, as we saw, has led to a lot of action plans. And from this year, 2023, up until 2040, I saw. So can we give him another round of applause for his presentation? Then you can ask your questions later on during our panel discussion. Next, we're going to hear about the case study of the SUMP of 3 Kiber, sorry for my pronunciation, Pakhtunkhwa cities in Pakistan. The cities themselves are easier to to pronounce. That's Peshawar, Mingora, and Abbottabad. So please welcome up front Mr. Harold Ural. Can we give him a hand?
Good afternoon. So I would be happy to present some of the outcomes of not one sum, but 3 sums. So we have got to get used to the plural for sums as well. For 3 cities in the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province of Pakistan. This sum is getting to its end, actually. So it's not yet finished. We are on the finish, but it's ripe enough to give you some key outcomes, actually, both on the challenges faced by the cities regarding mobility, as much as on the implementation of the sum. Great. A few introduction words on this very specific way to carry out not 1 sum, but 3 sums. This has been carried out for the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province, actually, who is the best governance authority we have in this area to cover urban mobility. The cities themselves are gaining power, but don't have it fully, and then the province level is the best fitted, best suited to care for these urban mobility issues. So the province, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province, got to ADB and AFD to carry out these sums, and it's another characteristic of these sums is to have been jointly supervised and supported by ADB and AFD. Understanding that ADB, as Lloyd presented earlier this morning, has supported the development of the Peshawar BRT in the province. 3 cities, 3 different locations, 3 sizes, actually. Peshawar, of course, is the biggest one. About 3.7 million inhabitants for the whole metropolitan area and the capital city of the province. Abbottabad comes second with about 650,000, 100,000 inhabitants. A city turned to university activities, leisure activities, touristic activities, and military activities. And Mingora, key city in the Swat Valley, which is a distant valley in the north of Pakistan, which accommodates actually about 450,000 inhabitants currently. Different size, completely different challenges to face regarding mobility. So 3 sums elaborated to care for that. Just to have a look on some insight on the cities, it was a lot of surveys, a lot of statistics, 3 different household surveys, actually, that were carried out to understand, to get an understanding of the mobility in these different cities. So I just present how the density of these cities will develop in the next 15 years from now to 2040. And this is the result of an important work that was carried out with our Pakistani counterparts to get to this understanding, to gather this data, and to gather them all into GIS that are now fit to be worked about by the local authorities. There has been also extensive work on the urban understanding of the cities in order to catch their fabric, in order to catch their organization, in order to understand the different mobility patterns that go along with the fabric of the city. So it's good to understand that a SUMP is not only about mobility, it's also about urban fabric, about urban development, and all key related issues with mobility. It's also about the environmental setup and all the, I would say, economic fabric, social fabric of the city. So quite a comprehensive way to get into the cities. And the diagnosis was an important milestone to have this understanding, and to have this understanding along with the different city stakeholders. I will now have a few developments on how we got from this understanding, this diagnosis, to visions, and more importantly, to actions. So first, to develop things on the road layout, road network. This is a very important way to step into the mobility topics, actually. SUMP is not about building infrastructures, building more roads, actually, obviously. But it's about having the right understanding of the road network, of its different levels, hierarchy, patterns, and understand how the very local pattern of streets, hundreds, if not thousands of kilometers of streets, fit into higher level street, and sometimes the very big top level street for which there are only a few dozen kilometers in a city. So it's always important to get into this understanding, and we always come out of that and saying that, okay, there's a bit of trouble. We have a few big roads or too many big roads, not enough small roads, and we have plenty of missing links. We have some roads that fit with very high level roads, but have no layout fit for the purpose. So there's something to be done. And so we come in and very humbly propose how to fit with the missing links, how to upgrade roads from a secondary category to a primary one, for instance, how to care also with local roads, because we have spoken quite a lot of first and last mile connectivity. It's very good, and we always speak of it and make projects for it. But it's also important to understand about the first and last meters connectivity. And the local roads actually care for that. And it's important to understand how some micro roadworks, how some micro actions, but multiplied by dozens and hundreds of kilometers, will at the end produce some key results and some palatable outcomes for the daily mobility of the people. So this road network we have proposed for the 3 cities has not only been extended, it has been qualitatively upgraded, I would think. It has been rebalanced between the different categories, and some care has been taken to have the road layout, global road layout, to fit with road uses and to fit with multiple road uses, meaning, okay, we need to care for traffic, we need to address congestion, but we need to care for pedestrians, we need to care for cycles, we need to care for all. And that's really the way we have addressed these road network issues far beyond the infrastructure aspect. And last word over that, it's about maintenance. When we build a road, let's of course think about its maintenance, the cost of its maintenance, the resources, human resources, technical resources required for this network maintenance. And this is definitely included into some budget, because it's not only about putting some capex on the paper, but also understanding how every year you will have to care for existing roads, but also for new roads, and where the money comes from. Big issues. So, a few pictures of the cities. A road in Abbottabad, small road, local road in Abbottabad, cared for by inhabitants, actually, and constructed mostly by inhabitants. And a few of the other main roads for which there has been also some different types of actions from BRT setting, we'll see that later on, to sidewalk layout on these main roads. And just to mention, we have mapped all these roads, and we have also taken thousands of photos of these different roads, all available on internet, meaning that it's a tool to work practically. If you need to understand from the distance, from Peshawar, for instance, if you want to understand how is set a local road in Abbottabad, well, just go to internet and you'll have a few dozen pictures that will just show you how it happened and will help you focus the projects. I get to public transport. First of all, we had, of course, a thorough analysis of the different paratransit supply, levels of supply in the cities, getting to understand actually how many of them do run, not easy, and have some understanding also of their business model, because when we come later with some proposals for paratransit restructuration for introducing mass transit or developing mass transit, well, we need to understand how these independent drivers break even and how we can come to them with a fair deal. So that's quite an important step into the sump, to have this understanding and to prepare the actions with the right understanding of this business model, this paratransit business model. Understanding also in Peshawar of the BRT phase 1, which is of course a great success. Lloyd has already spoken about it this morning. I will not come more over that, just saying that we have gathered some metrics about the BRT just to get to understand how it could develop, how could the network develop, what would be the patronage in 5, 10, 15 years, and what would be required fleet of BRT buses to care for these new passengers. And getting from the current situation to a vision and to actions, we have proposed in the 3 cities a new transport network, starting from what exists, from the first line of BRT in Peshawar, and from paratransit in Abbottabad and Mangora. We have proposed to develop a BRT in Abbottabad, best patronage for the BRT, and a bus network in Mangora, which is the smallest city whose general landscape is less fit for the BRT development. So this is the network developing a long time. I just go through back and again. We have Mangora on the left-hand side and Abbottabad on the right-hand side. For these different projects, we get very practical and operation-wise, I would say. Once again, it's not only about putting some new buses into the landscape or setting a BRT into the landscape. It's to understand at every milestone of the project, 2030, 2035, 2040, what would be the line development, what would be the routes, what would be the fleet required to run on these routes, and how many passengers we could care for by promoting such a network. What also would be left for paratransit, but because formalizing and developing a public transport network is a very good point, we need also to understand how paratransit transition goes through. Some of the paratransit activities will turn out and be switched to the new bus routes or BRT routes. Some will remain, and it's important to understand how, with what rolling stock, what agreements with the drivers, and what complementarities with the new public transport network. We have also, once again, some business model, very preliminary, of course, but still some business model thoughts into the process, in order to understand how can the system break even. This system can break even from an understanding of the fare levels we can get to, from the patronage of the system we can get to. There we come to understand what would be the financial frame for these different public transport networks that we propose. And once again, what would be not only the CapEx, initial CapEx for bus lanes or for rolling stock, but also every recurring operation costs over the years. This goes for Peshawar. So Peshawar already has an impressive BRT line that is running over next to 30 kilometers throughout the city from east to west, with next to 200 buses that are running daily. So it is an impressive outcome. And phase 2 is already under preparation. And what we do in the SUMP actually is not to concentrate over this ongoing work, but stemming out of it to get a further picture of what could be the network in 2030, 2035, and 2040, and how it would develop and go along with city development. This development, of course, is completely bridged to the infrastructure development, road development. Sometimes we have dedicated lanes for the BRT. Sometimes we care for crossroads. We care for good insertion in traffic, but do not go as far as putting dedicated lanes. So it's a matter of balance. It's a matter of overall understanding of the patronage of the lines and the layout, specific layout that can be required for these lines. We come now to a more abstract way of getting into the sum, but that is as much necessary also as the others. It's about the strategic framework. What we have prepared very classically, and that you will find in every SUMP that do respect itself, is a strategic framework of action. And I would just underline a few points on these aspects, not to be too long. We have delivered a vision for each of the 3 cities that is specific to each of these, to its layout, to its growth, and to the patterns of its growth. And one of the points actually is to turn global issues into local matters. We all know the global issues. We know about climate. We know about social inclusion, etc. The point here in making a strategy is to feel how local it can be, how matter of fact and how practical it can be into a city. So this comes through dialogue. This comes from the insight we have taken out of the diagnosis, out of the different analyses that have been carried out previously. So one point, from global to local, still being strategic. Second point, I would say, is to bridge this strategy with actions and be sure that every action that will be developed into the SUMP will fit into a well-tagged objective that refers to the overall strategy, and vice versa, that every strategy, every broad objective for the SUMP is matched by adequate action. It's giving this sense of planning, actually, but when you are down into an action on some local streets with some sidewalks, you still have an idea of the global picture, and you still understand that you are not only mending things on the drainage, but also improving an overall situation in an overall plan to improve global mobility. And it's also, when you are speaking of carbon footprint, that having a footprint, actually, and understanding where the results may come from, if it is from BRT setting, from rolling stock improvement of paratransit, just having these measures. So that's the point of a strategy. And very classically, vision, ambitions, objectives, and 38 actions. We had 42 in Medan, 38 in each of the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province. I think we are in the same amount of, same scale of actions. I will not go too much into details, but the point is really to be action fit with the strategy. Third point I would like to underline is that having a set of actions for the SUMP needs to be very comprehensive. We all have in mind big actions, BRT setting, metro setting sometimes, paratransit transition. This, I would say, is a bit easy pieces. We need also to cover softer actions, less visible actions that also have their share in the success of the SUMP. Some awareness raising between some targeted population, pupils getting to school, market people getting to the market, training of the people from the transport authority getting to manage transport projects. All that are some actions from hard to soft, and it's important. So we have just put a few categories on these different actions, from operational to governance to intelligence and capacities, developing some understanding, etc., and crossing all that with the different objectives. So that's how we came actually to these 38 actions. And once again, the point is to have a valuable net that gives a sense for ourselves and for the province not to have forgotten anything meaningful. And once again, to understand when you are dealing with shopkeepers to improve deliveries in some district of Abbottabad, that, okay, you are fitting in a more global picture, and that this action does make sense into the broader SUMP. It also much facilitates things once you implement the SUMP, because obviously planning is not only about planning, it's mostly about replanning, because things planned never implement the way they were planned. So replan. And it still does make sense to replan. So giving these tools is very important to give this not only a sense of planning, but a sense capacities to replan for the local teams once the SUMP is getting a living document, a living and implemented document. Of course, all this is implemented with some different schedules, with some different action sheets that are defined and that can be updated along the SUMP preparation. And I will finish this presentation in the few minutes that are left with a specific aspect of this SUMP, which are concept design studies, actually. Beyond the SUMP itself, it has been agreed to go one step forward, actually, one step beyond the SUMP, and get into 5 different concept design that would apply some SUMP actions and would give already a sense of what can be achieved through the SUMP, and give also some insight into the planning itself from additional insight into some actions. So I will just present two concept design studies we have carried out in Peshawar and in Mangora. We have in Mangora, for the first one, the Swat River that lays north of the city, and which is currently quite a fringe in the city, fringe area, most unfriendly and most unurban. Mangora being a touristic spot in Pakistan, Mangora needing some green areas, it's a splendid occasion to care for the walkway along the river and care for mobilities, especially NMTs, along the river. So we have proposed this development, taking some inspirations of worldwide projects. So there's one project in the state here in Denver,
a project in France on the Loire River banks in Nantes, even a project in New York, just to understand how riverbanks can be regenerated and can be made projects that propose both leisure activities, a pleasant landscape, and ways for sustainable mobility. The second concept design is about the Kabul Canal in Peshawar. The Kabul Canal is an irrigation canal running in all the northern part of the city, with a pair of roads running along it, and it is currently quite an unfriendly area, I would say, with quite a lot of backyards and side activities along it, and mobilities in different disorganized fashion. So the point here is to make the canal, once again, taking inspiration of some urban development upgrades of different canals in the world, to make this canal an urban landscape, to make this canal something valuable, and to make this canal both a mobility area that cares for NMTs and that care also for motorized transport, which is a need to care for in Peshawar. So we hope that we care for every need in this project, but that's something interesting, and that also proposes some freshness islands in the area. We have water, we value this water with plantations, we value this water with NMTs to go around. Thank you for your attention, and happy to discuss and take any questions on this project.
Thank you so much, Mr. Harold Hurrell. That was personally for me very thought-provoking. In terms of the three sumps, I don't know how you managed that with three different contexts and different visions at that. For example, here we're in Ortigas, which is part of Pasig City. I know it's a very, very different context, just 5 kilometers away, which is Makati City, another central business district. And understanding of the road networks, the hierarchies, the missing links, that was also for me quite something to think about in terms of transport planning here. And every city really has its own paratransit, its own informal public transport system. And I like that you mentioned Datsun, which I know is the brand of the car, but they probably call that the Datsun the same way that we call it the jeepney here in the Philippines, which is actually the Filipinos' creative use of the American jeepneys that were left over from World War II, in case you did not know the history of that. And we just chopped it up and made it longer to accommodate more people. So thank you so much for these two presentations. Can we give them a hand again? We now excuse me, we now move to our panel discussion, and I'd like to call our other panelists up front. Ms. Anne Laura Ullman, who is the Southeast Asia Transport Task Team Leader at the AFD. Can we give her a hand right now? And then also Hussein Haider, who is the Principal Transport Specialist at ADB. Let's also give him a hand. And of course, Clement Musil, who is the project manager for Mobilize Your City in Asia. Okay, I actually prepared a few questions here, but I will digress. And for those of you in the audience who do have your own questions, please feel free to think of it now. But this is particularly for our two presenters, Mr. Agustinos Panjaitan and Harold Hurrell, on the issue of governance. So they actually say that transport is politics. Many of us know that. But in any of your sumps, did you, like, you have it planned for 2040? I also saw some plans until 2040. In the Philippines, we are always scared of changing political regimes because sometimes the plans don't happen. So have you, in any of your SUMPs, taken any steps for any of these to survive future political regimes that can happen until 2040? So any one of you can start.
Thank you. I think that's a good question. Political regime issue is one big issue in our, especially in our local government, because in 2024, there is an election for our governor, and then for one of the city, Medan City, as the capital city of North Sumatra province, also we held the election for the mayor. So how we anticipate this problem? Actually, after we prepare the sum, the next step is we prepare for the governor regulation.
Okay.
The governor regulation will accommodate the action plan of the SOMP, and then at the same time, the local government, like Medan City, and then the other city and regency also put the action plan of the SAM in their local planning.
Okay.
Because we, like us in province, we have a land use planning for 20 years, the next 20 years, and also the city and regency also have a local planning for the land use planning. So we should put it in our local planning. So as we have this SAM document, now actually like us in Medan City and provincial government, we're still waiting for the approval. So until now, actually we have no got approved from the central government. We're still waiting for from the planning board, our central government planning board for this SAM. After we got the approval, we will make the governor regulation. So the governor regulation is our guidance for the next plan, especially for the grand design transportation in our Mabidang area. I think that's part of our anticipation about the political regime in our local government. Thank you.
Thank you.
In the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province, there has been a strong political endorsement of the SAMP and of, I would say, an overall mobility policy, strongly embedded in the development of the BRT in Peshawar, actually. So I would say the context was politically safe and politically strong, with a will expressed at the highest level to move forward in the mobility development. So what we cared for was more to get to the technical level and be sure to give them the tools, to give them the insight, and to give them actually a set of actions that would be rooted in their current practices, but would develop into the SAMP objectives. So that's about the way we addressed this topic.
Thank you very much. And I think that's very important for our audience to hear, that you need very strong political will in order for any of these plans to actually become actions, especially on the ground. And I'd like now to pose a question for our other panelists. So particularly to Anna and to Hussein, for AFD and ADB as implementing partners supporting Mobilize Your City, how are you adapting and tailoring the SUMP elaboration for all of these cities, like for them?
Thank you very much. As mentioned this morning, Mobilize Your City initiative provide a toolkit to the city members. Among these tools, there is a standard terms of reference for the sums, which can be which needs to be customized. The political, the specific local needs must be expressed. The specific political will and visions must be also expressed, and all this must be written in the terms of reference for the sums so that the consultant can work on this basis. And that's where the MYC secretariat can be very useful.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is something very timely because I'm just starting a sump in Papua New Guinea, the capital city of Port Moresby. So yeah, so I think the first thing is that a very good start will give you a very good sump. That is the key. Now, how to take a start of that one, that is important. So as she mentioned also that the TORs is the first point where you need to work a little bit more and customize the TORs to deliver a good sump. That's very key and that's very important because every city has their own needs. I cannot duplicate or replicate the sum of Peshawar in Port Moresby because Port Moresby has got its own challenges. There is no data which is available in Port Moresby. Sudhir was sitting over here. Maybe Sudhir can help us in terms of getting some data for them. So safety and security is another big challenge in Port Moresby. We talk about a walkable city, but it's not a walkable city in terms of safety also.
Exactly.
So gender-based violence is another issue over there. So we need to see that aspect also. There are so many things which we need to see. So that's I think something which is important in that.
Okay, thank you so much. And maybe we'll hear also from Clement, Lucille. Maybe you can react to what they mentioned in terms of what they would need for Mobilize Your City Asia in terms of assistance for maybe for both our presenters and also for AFD and ADB.
Yes, so what I can share, it's 2 points, the beginning of SUMP and the end of SUMP. I will start with the end.
Okay.
So for example,
begin with the end in mind.
In the case of Medan, what is important to see in the partnership, it's also to give visibility to actions that have been done. So for example, we developed with the cooperation with Papenas, with Medan and all that, and of course with AFD, the video to promote and to show what was happening, because finally we say it's a 1-year project, maybe 1.5 years, but because of the COVID, it was longer than that. So it's important to promote what has been done with the stakeholders. And as we all understand, there is so many stakeholders involved. Exactly. Already at the partnership level with the EU, with the French, the German and all that, but also when we are speaking locally with the local partners. So that it's important. What is also important is to start the SUMP in the right way, in the good way. And so the preparation phase can be a little bit long because, again, as mentioned by Agustinus, you have to set up the technical committee, the steering committee, and you have to have the right and the key stakeholders, because after that, it's a political question, it's a political matters, and some decision has to be made. So it's important also to have the right person around the table at the beginning of SUMP, but also if we are speaking also for a mobility project. So it's key points.
Okay, thank you so much. Now maybe we'd like to take some questions from our audience, if there are any. Yes, please take the nearest microphone.
Hi. Thank you, Augustinus. The question is for you. There's such a high prevalence of motorcycles in your city. And I saw there was, as part of your actions, there was plans about GHG emissions reductions. My question is whether you are considering supporting the electrification of motorcycles, or you just want them gone forever and everybody's going to take the bus.
Yeah, thank you for the question. Yeah, as I explained before in my presentation, we have a 70% share for the motorcycle, but yeah, until now we still have no program to convert the with the electric motorcycle. But for the electricity, actually, we already have a program for the BRT, for the electric bus, for the our implementation for the BRT and for next year. For the motorcycle, I think we will usually if the central government already start for the program, and we as a local government will follow the program. So it depends on the policy of the central government actually. So we start for the electricity with the BRT system first, and then maybe for the motorcycle for the next, it depends on our regulation. But actually, the central government has issued the presidential regulation for this electricity, not only for the bus, but for the public transport. And I think for the motorcycle, I think like Jakarta already start for the electric motorcycle, but still limited for the institution, the government institution. I think it's the way how to a part of the greenhouse gases program to reduce the carbon. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Was your question answered? Yeah. Okay. Any other? Yes. You, and then, okay, you're next after.
Okay, yeah, thank you for the great presentations. So I have two questions. One is for Harold. So I'm just wondering, what are your strategies to mitigate the social impacts of the SUMP? So for example, if you want to reform the road space, obviously the street vendors will be affected, right? And also if you want to reform the paratransit, then the previous or existing operators will be impacted by that strategy. So I'm just wondering what are the strategies that you want to implement in the SUMPs. My second question is for the other three panelists. So it is related to your first question. So I just want to know how do you convince or how do you build your case to the government so that they are willing to build these SUMPs. So for example, in Indonesia, obviously there are local transport master plans. So why do they have to do these SUMPs again? Because I think it's kind of similar. So the simple question is, what's in it for them? So how do you convince them to do these SUMPs? Thank you.
Thank you. Maybe you start.
Thank you. Regarding social aspects and social acceptance and social deal for SUMP implementation, a great action has been carried out by the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province regarding the implementation of Phase 1 BRT. Phase 1 BRT came headfront into a paratransit context that care for mobility prior to BRT implementation. And they successfully managed, with extensive talks, extensive discussion with industry, to scrap part of old vehicles that care for the service and bring some of the drivers into the new business and get the others to accept to get into new businesses. So this can happen successfully as long as it is well acknowledged for, well prepared, and prepared in advance. And I think it's just the same for street vendors. You cannot just admit that you will put a sidewalk that will be free of anything where you have people making their daily living. So you need first to identify, you need to discuss, and you need to find a way to accommodate these activities that do not necessarily have to sit right on the sidewalk. And that can be a few meters away and just be as livable, as a good business as it is, but care for the mobility to go through. So no downward and authoritative way is the option for that. Extensive and understanding and discussion are most often a good solution for in this prospect.
Thanks so much. And then now we're going to hear from AFD, ADB, and Mobilize Your City Asia on how do you convince governments to buy in to Mobilize Your City, even though they already have pre-existing plans, if this was your question earlier.
So I can hear your question about like to think that a transport master plan or urban transport master plan can be redundant with SUMP. Yeah, probably. Okay. But what you have to see, it is that MYC is bringing something else, something also, I would say, new in different contexts and when we are speaking about a global south, because it brings another methodology, it brings a lot of dialogue, and often the dialogue is, more top-down than, also bottom-up and all that. So in the methodology of the SUMP, this is also this approach that is promoted. There is the dialogue, there is the strategic approach to find priority into the projects. So that it's a key aspect, and it's different than just a list in urban transport master plan. And also one last thing that is important, it's the example that brought Harold with the KP province. It's to go beyond, to go further, and to have like ready, not ready-made, but ready to implement projects. Okay, it's not pre-feasibility study, but it's a very detailed study to go further and to raise the question, where can we find the money and finance those projects? And this is the link with the next session. But this is important to have that in mind. So this is what the SUMP can bring.
Okay.
Just to little bit add on what Clement mentioned about on the KP, because I'm doing the phase 2 of Peshawar BRT. So yeah, I totally agree, because that this KP sum, although it is not fully complete, but it gives us a very good starting point to have a discussion and engage with the government in the phase 2 in terms of the design of the phase 2 project or BRT project. So that's really helpful in terms of engaging with the government and to convince the government that this is what it is coming up and all those things. So that's very helpful. Thank you very much for all your good work on that one. So yeah, so coming back to the how we convince the government, to be honest, in country where Port Moresby city where I'm working on that one, it wasn't very difficult, but yes, we can face, there is a little bit of a overlapping, but what I can see in the SUMP, it's more inclusive as compared to the transport plan. That's very important. And there's a lot of, you can say that there's a lot of engagement with the decision makers at different decision making points in SUMP. So that makes it more inclusive, and in terms of bring more clarity to the government. As you keep on moving, you get more and more clarity in terms of what end product you will be looking into. Then there's a very clear understanding of low carbon interventions and methodologies in the SUMP, which sometimes we ignore in the big master plans. So that's why I think that it's very easy to convince the governments in terms of going for the SUMPs. Thank you.
You have anything to add?
Nothing more to say. Maybe in the additional the things that we can find in the SUMP is the gender issues that are often very not taken into account into the traditional master plan, and so this is also very, very important.
Thank you. Maybe to just summarize what I heard, that it's very important to promote visibility for any of our actions, and also to talk to the decision makers early on for any action that we're going to do. We're going to take one last question because we're actually running out of time. Sorry. Please take the microphone from there.
Okay, thank you for the nice presentation. Actually, when we talk about the mobility, we talk about the mobility of people as well as the freights. So for the people, we need not only the BRT and MRT, we need walking facilities, we need bicycling facilities, and we need the bus route franchisee. That is the most important. And for the freight facilities, we need the parking areas. So in the two SUMPs, what we have seen here, so whether these things were included in the SUMPs and implemented or not. Thank you very much.
Would any of you want to?
Yes, thank you for the question. Yes, I absolutely agree with you that when we talk about the SAM, like in our Medan Mabidang SAM, we do not talk only about the mobility, about the passenger, but also for the freight transport. Not only for the passenger transport, but actually, we as a local government, actually from the beginning, we don't know a lot about the SAM. I would like to telling a story about this SAM in our local government. When we have a project for the LRT at the time, the central government, the Bappenas, require us to have like a grand design for the transportation in our city. And then they told us that they will prepare a consultant for this, and we receive AFD to prepare this document. But why in our, actually we realized that in our SAM, mostly we talk about the passenger, the mobility of the passenger, about the people. We do not have a plan how to accommodate the mobility of the freight for the freight transport. Maybe from AFD can explain about this. But in our SAM, yes, we realized that mostly we talk about the passenger, the mobility of the passenger. Even actually we have for the action plan not only for the passenger mobility. Also we have a action plan for the freight transport. But for the detailed analysis, we still have no specific program for the freight transport. Maybe that's from our side.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Would you want to answer? Oh, no. Okay. So I would just like to ask maybe final words from all of our panelists, that if any city wants, what would your advice be for a city that wants to do a meaningful SUMP? For our two presenters, like from your experience, what would you tell them? And for our other panelists, like what from your experience dealing with a lot of different SUMPs, what have you seen works and what doesn't work? So maybe we start with you. Yeah. What's your advice?
Advice for?
What is your advice for a city that wants to do, for example, there's a mayor here and he wants to do a SUMP, but he has zero knowledge.
I think the first important thing is the commitment from the local government who involved with the SUMP. I mean the scope of the SUMP. Like us, province, our governor actually have a very strong commitment to how to improve our mobility. And then when we, I mean, it depends on our city and regency also. They should commit with that what we have put in our action plan for the SAM. That's the point, the important point, I think, from the beginning, like as we start for the MOU first, to make our commitment, governor, city, and mayor and region to commit what we will, how we will start for the SAM, and then after we have the SAM, we will put it in our own local plan, and it to be our guidance to improve our transportation.
Okay, so to have a vertical commitment from the governor to the vice governor to the mayors.
I would take from Hussein and Clément actually for this final recommendation. Hope I'm not taking it away from you. But, I would say care for the beginning, care for the end of the sump, and understand that the end is just another beginning. And that
Okay,
actually
careful with the beginning, careful with the end, and realizing that the end is just another beginning.
absolutely. And,
Okay.
and that, yes, after the sump, you have implementation of it, and it's good to understand with operation being
So many
operation
things
wise,
can come out.
how things can come out, how tools that have been elaborated can be valued, what technical assistance you would need, and just move forward. So final, but very
Okay.
provisional final recommendation.
Okay, thank you.
It's a tough question. I don't know. I come from the city of Paris, where Mayor Hidalgo made some radical choices regarding mobility in Paris. And I don't know, I think the courage, political courage is
Political
important.
courage still.
And with dialogue, everything is possible.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think other than political will, which is key actually in Assam, what I did actually first go to the website of MYC and
Go to the
download the
website of
template of SAM. That is the
MYC.
key. That's the key.
Okay.
And I did the same thing. So thank you very much for that. Thank you. So that's the key. No, because then you get an idea and then you can customize the TWAs, which I mentioned earlier
Yes.
also. That's also very important. So after that, I think there are few, we can say that few ingredients which are important to put in the SAM. It has to be, it has to give you a long-term vision. That is very important in the SAM. There has to be a very clear implementation plan in the SAM.
Okay.
And then very clear monitoring plan, also, observatory and all those things. That has to be very clear on that. And there should be a lot of consultation with the stakeholders during the design phase of the SAM. That is very important. And especially your SAM should speak the language of other sector policies. If there is no sector policies, then you have to see that how you can customize or how you can talk to them. So it's very important that it should speak with the other sector policies. You cannot develop the SAM in isolation. That's very
Exactly.
important also. Thank you.
So a whole of government, essentially.
So I will just repeat some few stuff now, just to say the cycle of the SUMP. This is in the SUMP guidelines that the book that were outside, but the SUMP guidelines show one figure with this cycle, and this is a process. But just to with my last word with all that, it's really a matter of commitment in like for decision makers, but also for population and organization in a city to also be convinced that there is other solution than the car to move in the city. And so public transport, active modes, and this is what we are promoting with Mobilize Your City. But it's to also rethink that the car is somehow an issue, not only like electrification, but also space. So
Exactly.
as it was mentioned by Jamie this morning, in Asia, cities are particular with the density. So yeah, this is that also to think about before to prepare a sump.
Thank you so much to all our panelists. Can we give them a hand once again? And this ends our session for today. Not today, sorry. This 3 p.m. supposedly. So I think we're now ready for our break. And we will be back by 3:20. Okay. Please feel free to get your coffee and snacks.